Hi, I'm going to demonstrate the usage of the Exadigm terminal with the QuikTrade barter management system. The Exadigm terminal is essentially a web-based credit card machine that has been reconfigured to work directly with the QuikTrade barter management system. And most of its functionality resembles that you would see in a credit card machine. When you first get into the machine, you'll notice a screen. It may say a different name at the top instead of Trade Authority. It may probably the name of the local exchange. And it may be that you don't see this F3 input tip amount right there. If there are no transactions stored in the machine, if it's just recently been installed, then you may not see that. But if there is any transaction that is not conducted that has not had a tip charged to it, then you would see that F3 key right there. But anyway, at this point, you either can swipe the card or you can hit the F2 key, which would allow you to manually input the 16-digit numbers off the front of the card. Now, your card may look something like this, or it may look completely different, just depending upon the exchange. But you can, by hitting that F2 key, you can manually enter in a card number. At this point, though, we're going to back up and we're going to assume that everything is there and working fine. The only reason you'd have to manually enter a number is if for some reason the magnetic stripe had, perhaps messed up or something to that effect. But assuming that everything is going fine, we just take the card, stripe in and down, and we swipe it across. When you swipe it across, it's going to ask for a purchase amount. You enter that amount. We're just going to enter $2 right now, 200. And you'll see how that looks on the screen. And then we're going to hit the enter key, which is the green round button at the bottom right. And it's going to ask for a tip amount. Now, if you happen to know the tip, perhaps they told you, if you're a waiter and they told you the tip before you brought the paperwork back to them, then you could go ahead and enter it now. But generally, you don't know the tip at the point in this transaction, and so you just hit enter again. And it would bring you to this main menu, which is kind of a total menu, and it shows the total purchase amount, right now showing $2, a total tip amount showing nothing. Enter to continue, or F1 to back up, or cancel to kill the transaction. So we like this and everything looks good, so I'm going to hit the enter button, the green button on the bottom right, and you'll see that it'll say processing, and here in a second it'll say approved or denied. It says approved, piece of paper comes out, it'll wait for a few seconds while you tear that off, and then another slip, which is identical, will come out, and that transaction is finished. Now, had that transaction been denied, it would have just said the word denied, and it would not have printed a slip of paper out, and that would have been the end of it, and you would have had to tell the customer that it was not allowing that transaction. Which doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with that client's account. It could be any number of things, but the client would need to contact their exchange office to see what the difficulty may be, or they should get an email saying what the difficulty may have been with the transaction anyway. There's always an email that comes out after a transaction, whether it's approved or denied. You'll notice the slip. It should have information here about the restaurant or the service at the top. It'll show the card number, or it shows the last 6 digits of the card number. It shows the sale amount. If this was a restaurant and they were bringing it to the customer could write the tip amount right there. Not really necessarily from the write a total, but then they would sign it and they would return this back to their waiter or waitress, and they would be able to keep their own copy. Now, at this point, let's assume that they put a tip on there. You will see on the screen right here that we have this F3 to input tip amount. So let's assume that they wrote on the piece of paper that they wrote that they wanted to tip another $1. So right here I can hit F3. Now you'll notice right now that it shows 2 transactions. I've run 2 transactions on the same account for $2. However, this could hold up to 15 different transactions, and most likely you will see a different number. Those numbers that you see right here, those are the last 6 digits off the receipt, and so it would match those same digits right there. So what you would need to do to find the account that you need to put a tip on, you would take your paper and you would match those last 6 digits as well as the purchase price, and you can select that. Again, it can hold up to 15 different ones. By hitting the F2 and the F3 key, you can scroll up and down, and again, if it's more than 15, then you can imagine it would roll off the page. But find the transaction that you wish to post a tip to, and then, I'll back up, you would hit the Enter key, and again, it's going to ask you a question, but now it's not going to ask the purchase amount, it's only going to ask for the tip amount. Let's say that we put $1 tip on there, and we're going to hit the Enter key one more time. Again, it'll give us a totals page like we had before. No purchase, now it's just showing the tip amount that's being added. And we're going to hit the Enter key one more time. It'll say processing, and then either denied or approved. And there it goes, it's approved. Again, if it were denied, it wouldn't do anything except for say denied. It would not print out a piece of paper. And waiting for the second receipt. And there we go. And so now that receipt is showing the tip amount added. You would staple this receipt to the first receipt of the same account, the one that was for $2, and keep that in storage for your own files. You will also notice that now that we've run a tip, that if I hit the F3 key, it no longer shows 2 transactions. It only shows transactions where a tip has not been provided. So if we had 8 transactions in there and I ran a tip off of one of them, when I went back to this, I would only be able to find the 7 transactions that have not had a tip. So anyway, just showing you that. And that pretty much concludes the usage of the point of sale system for the Exadigm terminal in QuikTrade.